All right, it happened again. I got approached by somebody who wanted my time. Now, this is very common in a selling situation. The person who's doing the selling wants the time of the person that they're trying to sell to. And this person was making a really avoidable but frustrating mistake, because the mistake that they were making introduced a lot of friction and annoyance into the process of actually getting on the phone with them. And in a selling situation, it is so easy for the person who you are trying to sell to just avoid you and ignore you, as opposed to work with you to actually get around this friction. And as the person doing the selling, it is your job to reduce or eliminate the friction, to reduce or eliminate the annoyance. And so today, I'm going to share with you this really simple way to shortcut the selling process. And really today, there is no excuse not to do it. So if this is a mistake that you're making, you need to correct it, like right at the end of this episode. And I promise you, you will sell more as a result. So what is the simple way to shortcut selling? I'm gonna hold off on sharing just a minute. So it's really frustrating. The particular instance that I'm talking about today was actually somebody who was trying to get me to schedule a podcast. Now, that's one type of selling. There are lots of different types of selling. Not all of them include the immediate exchange of dollars. Other times it's trying to get someone on the phone for maybe just an introductory call to see if it's a fit, right? And a needs discovery call, right? Sometimes it is a direct sales call. Sometimes it's someone actually looking to you to do business with you, where there needs to be a conversation that takes place first, right? So there's lots of different scenarios where you need to get on the phone with somebody, or somebody needs to get on the phone with you. And I'm constantly approached with requests, whether it's sales or somebody trying to do some kind of partnership with me, or somebody trying to be a guest on my podcast, whatever it is, right? People want to schedule meetings all the time. There's this really annoying thing that happens with the back and forth when somebody says, okay, well, when are you available soon? Or are you available on this day? Or when are you available around this week, right? And you just know when that comes up, there's going to be this annoying level of back and forth. And it creates a lot of friction. For every email sent back and forth to try and schedule something, that's just additional friction in the process. And if it's a sales related call, if it's a client related call, if it's a prospect related call, that friction has the potential to cost you the sale. So most of my client relationships are easily into the tens of thousands of dollars. Most of my client relationships are easily into the tens of thousands of dollars. And why would I let a little thing like call scheduling introduce friction into the process that's going to prevent that person from becoming a client? I have 6-figure client relationships, right? Like these things, the more friction that there is in the process, the harder it is for that person to move through and actually become a client. And the more likely it is that I'm going to lose a lot of money as a result. And in sales, it's even worse. So in sales, I have in my notes here that it's even worse. It's even worse than, for example, somebody trying to approach me to schedule a podcast. Although, if you don't do what I'm going to tell you for trying to run a podcast, your life is much more of a headache than it needs to be. Your guest's life is much more of a headache that needs to be. You're less likely to get really good guests on your show, etc. But in sales, this becomes what Brian Kurtz has sometimes lovingly referred to himself as the sales prevention department. The sales prevention department. So if you are making this one mistake that I'm going to show you how to correct today, you are actually not in the sales department for your business. You are in the sales prevention department. So what is this? It's all about scheduling calls, right? And there's actually very cheap or even free software that solves this major problem. And I'm going to make sure to link to a couple of these in the description with this episode. But basically, it's an appointment scheduling tool. You get in there. I happen to use Book Like a Boss. Calendly is maybe one of the most popular ones. I think in part because they offer a free level where you can have one type of meeting available for free. Acuity scheduling is another one that I often recommend for maybe a more professional or more of a team-based scenario, although all of them can function in that way, as far as I know today. But the whole gist of this is I go in there and I create a specific type of appointment inside the software platform, right? So inside Book Like a Boss, I say that I want to be able to, well, for example, I want someone to be able to schedule a podcast interview with me. And so I create the page that's going to allow somebody to schedule a podcast interview with me. It is going to link into my calendar, and within specific time windows that I offer, it is going to make certain times available to that person. So if I say I'm available, let's say 9 a.m. to noon on a specific day or a specific day of the week, and the podcasts are an hour long, the appointments are an hour long, it's going to offer 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11 o'clock. Not 11:30, because if I'm only available 9 to noon, it needs to give me an hour, right? But it's going to offer those 5 time slots for that morning, assuming that I say offer it on the half hour. It's going to offer those 5 time slots, and somebody's going to be able to book that, and it's going to ask them for whatever information I ask them for, and it's going to put the appointment on my calendar once they submit the form, and it's going to give them a link and send them a calendar invite to put it on their calendar when they submit the form. And largely, these all work the same way, right? There are details that are different, features that are different, but they work the same way. And what happens is it makes it super easy to schedule an appointment. So I say, I'd like to book a podcast interview with you in the near future. Here's the link to do that. Or I'd like to book an intro call with you in the near future because I think it might make sense to work together. Here's the link to do that, right? And for example, with Book Like a Boss, the paid platform, I can sell time through there. I've sold copy review services through there. I sell a few different services through there. I can also offer free time, for example, the podcast interviews, or my intro calls that I do as a fractional CMO and copy chief. All of that is handled through this platform. And there is no reason not to have something like this. If you're regularly scheduling calls with people, I mean, at least to have a free Calendly 30-minute one, hour one, I don't know. I think even Google Calendar has something similar that's being integrated into it today, right? But the whole point is it is on you to make it easier for someone to get on the phone with you, especially if you're trying to sell them something. It's on you to make it easier for them to get on the phone with you so that you can achieve whatever goal you're trying to achieve through that phone call. And this shortcuts the sales process because there's no annoying back and forth, right? If I'm a prospect for you and you want to get me to buy something, but then there's this whole friction, this annoying back and forth that goes on just trying to schedule our first call together, that becomes extremely frustrating, and it makes me less likely to work with you. I don't perceive you as professional. So in doing this, you are perceived as more professional, right? You are perceived as someone who has your stuff together, and you know how to handle yourself, and you know how to handle a sales process and all that good stuff, right? On top of that, these platforms often include attendance reminders, which is great. You can set it up so that somebody gets a reminder an hour before the call, a day before the call, et cetera, right? And through all of these things, reducing the friction, making it easier to actually book the call, looking more professional, reminding people that the call is coming up, all of that, it helps you get prospects on the call. And so going all the way back to like when I was selling IT training, I was starting my high ticket IT sales training with a consultation, like a free training consultation for you to discuss the needs of your department. And having something like this, which wasn't available at the time, would have been incredibly useful to get more of those departments on the call. It's something that, I continue to use to this day. It's one of my most essential tools, right? And it's essential to my sales process. So, I've gone back and forth between talking about like the podcasting and all of that because I was reminded of this in the context of today's experience with this, right? But this is absolutely essential to my sales process. So like in the Launch Your Client Business free mini course, where I teach you about how to lay a foundation for an effective client business, including copywriting, but beyond copywriting, any kind of client services. I talk about this in the sales process, right? In my networking secret training, where I actually talked about how to get clients from networking events where you're actually meeting people in person. I talk about how to use a tool like this, and this was way back, like before many of the platforms that I've already mentioned existed, when they were way more rudimentary, way less cool than they are today. But I was still using this to get clients on the phone and get tens of thousands of dollars of business from an afternoon networking event. And even today, like I still use this, my fractional CMO and copy chief business, where I'm working with direct response marketers to do services, everything from like a half-day consultation to ongoing embedded marketing leadership in your business. So much of my process is about getting people to book that intro call, and that is an embedded form on my website that is tied into one of these platforms that allows you to book time on my calendar, ask you a couple questions to make sure you're a good fit. And then we have that conversation. And then the next conversation that I have after that intro call, which is a strategy session, that also uses a tool like this, right? And booking the half day, that uses a tool. Like it's all using tools like this. And it's absolutely essential to my sales process. And I strongly recommend you make it essential to yours. So my call to action for you at the end of this episode, ask yourself how you can use this. If you're not already using a tool like this, come on, just do it. Just do it. Like you will thank me later because of the additional conversations that you're able to have with prospective clients. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get more content like this delivered to you. I'm including lots of links in the description of the Launch Your Client Business free mini course, my networking secret training, my fractional CMO and copy chief services, if you want to check that out and if it is a fit for you. Also to book like a boss, Calendly and Acuity, all of those which are among the best solutions in this regard. Of course, you can decide what is best for you as you check those out. But with that, I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. See you soon. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.